Today's scripture treasure, Deuteronomy 18 verse 9. When you come into the land that Yah your Elohim is giving you, you shall not learn to follow the abominable practices of those nations. Welcome to another edition of the LKP Treasure Trove. On October 31st of each year, children everywhere dress up in costumes and go from door to door asking for candy. But many righteous children do not know that this is a tradition rooted in pagan practices that started in Celtic lands some 2,000 years ago. And scripture says that we are not to follow the abominable or very bad practices and customs of the nations. Halloween is one of those customs. In today's story, 3 trick-or-treaters will hear the truth about Halloween. No trick, no treat. Amara and Justin watched their grandpa intently as he read passages from the book of Exodus, but he stopped mid-sentence when the doorbell rang. Grandpa put a bookmark between the pages of the scriptures to remember his place, and then he eased himself out of the armchair to answer the door. When he looked through the peephole, Amara asked, "Who is it, Grandpa?"
3 kids in Halloween costumes,
Grandpa replied as he swung the door open. "Trick or treat," a girl dressed as a princess said. "Give us something good to eat." She held out a candy bucket shaped like a pumpkin and waited for a response. Grandpa darted his eyes from one child to the next. Then he pointed his finger at the girl in the middle, the one who spoke to him.
"You're dressed as a princess," Grandpa said. "I can see why that would appeal to you."
He aimed his finger at the girl on the left, who stood behind the princess.
"And you must be a witch. Now that is what Halloween is all about these days."
Finally, he rested his eyes on the boy to the right, and he slowly aimed his finger at him.
"But you're a dead person, judging from the skeleton costume you're wearing. Now that is classic. That goes back to the very beginning of this evil celebration."
The smiles on the 3 children's faces faded, and they all looked puzzled.
"Do you kids know what this day truly represents?"
Grandpa asked, causing the kids to look at one another with confused faces.
"It's purely evil, and the Creator forbids it, so I'll have nothing to do with it. That means no trick and no treat tonight."
The children turned away from Grandpa's door, sorrowful. Grandpa heard one of the girls ask if the others wanted to go next door, but the boy said, "I'm done for the night. I want to go home." When Grandpa closed the door, his grandson Justin said, "We don't celebrate Halloween, Grandpa." Grandpa walked back into the living room, sat down in the armchair again, and said,
"That's because your mother had the good sense to raise you according to Torah."
Amara pointed to Grandpa's scriptures and asked, "Can you show us where it says Yah forbids pagan celebrations like Halloween, Grandpa?" Grandpa leaned back in his chair, set his scriptures on his belly, and flipped to Deuteronomy chapter 18.
Let's start at verse 9.
Now, what about you? Knowing that traditions like Halloween are pagan in origin, are you going to continue to honor these days in violation of Yah's law? Halloween began as Samhain, an old pagan festival which the ancient Celts, people who inhabited Western Europe, kept on October 31st because they thought the dead walked among the living at that time. Other nations started keeping this custom as well, and it continued down through time with various changes until it became what we see today. But Yah is against these pagan practices, and he instructs us to not follow the nations by doing as they do.
Download this Treasure Trove story as a podcast on our website. And look for more stories in this and other exciting scripture-based series on our website as well. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.